Greetings and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. In this video, we'll be continuing our gameplay from Blue and Gray Deluxe Edition. This is Shiloh, the Battle for Tennessee, 6-7, April 1862. And this is, of course, the deluxe edition of the two quad games produced back in 1975 by SPI. They've been given the deluxeification treatment here by Decision Games. And we are playing Shiloh. I did game turn 1 in part 1 of the gameplay. I also did a first look, so if you wanted to see more information about the deluxe edition of Blue and Gray, including all the maps and all that stuff, you can check out the first look. Or if you want to see what happened in turn 1, you can obviously check out gameplay 1, both of them here on the Hexed Encounter channel. Okay, so we're going to pick up here. We are in game turn 2. And so the game moves pretty standardly. It's I won't go over the rules and so on again because we just did them not that long ago. In this scenario, the Confederates are player 1, and you do a movement phase and then a combat phase, and then you switch, and the second player goes, in this case, the Union, and they will obviously do the same thing, movement phase and combat phase, and then you do the game turn record interphase. So it's pretty straightforward. So all units have a movement allowance of 6 movement points, and they're moved one at a time through a path of contiguous hexes. So obviously you can see where the Confederates are. They are in the gray, and the blue, of course, is the Union. And so you can see here we have a stacking limit of 2 units per hex, and there are zones of control, etc., etc. Again, watch part 1 if you want some more of the nuances of the rule system. However, as I said, the rule system in this game is very straightforward. Okay, so let's get underway here. Now, we have units that are adjacent to each other cannot attack because they're in the zone of control. I mean, cannot move, sorry. They can obviously attack. So here, this unit right here, which is Cleburne, he is next to the 1-5 of the Union, and has a 9-5 advantage, but because we're in the movement phase, he can neither move nor attack. So when we get to the combat phase, that's when he can attack. Now, down here, we have these units here that have this, their factor, their combat factor in parentheses and red. That means they are unable to attack because they attacked and lost and had to retreat. And when that happens, they become disordered and they are not allowed to recover until we get to the night turn, which is turn 7. So that's down the road a bit, of course. So we have a couple of instances here on the Confederate side and a couple of units as well on the Union side that are up here. But we can obviously move other units. So we're going to take Stuart here and not Jeb and move him here, which will give us a 15-5. They are in forest, so that actually does not have an effect on combat, but it does have an effect on movement. Now, rough, which is the darker colored here, those do have an effect on combat. The defender is doubled in the hex. Okay, so that this unit has moved. That one can't move. I'm not going to move the artillery, and these guys will stay put. Now, this one here is an artillery unit. He's going to also stay put. I don't want to put them in a direct, well, maybe I can move them up. Now, to move into rough forest hex costs 6 movement points. So that's literally his entire movement allowance. But the other thing, we have a move restrict here. The Union cannot move in turns 1 or 2, except to retreat 1 hex to the north or northeast. So he's going to move up here into this forest rough because that gives them a defensive bonus, and he's still within range of bombarding some Union units around him. Now here, this guy obviously cannot move as well. Now here we have 2 Union units, wow, that's hard to say, that are, that's a stack of 12, right? So we do have a 9 and a 7 here. 2 7s and a 9, so that would be, of course, 23. And do we want to try and crack these guys open? Perhaps. You do have to attack units that are adjacent to you. So you could try and be a little tricky about things. Now, I could also elect to just move this guy. See, here's a road which costs only 1 movement point. If he were to move here, then he's moving not along the road because he's crossing a non-road hex side and is going into a rough forest. So that's going to cost him all of his movement points, but that is what we're going to do. And move him here. This guy can move up. That only costs 1, and he will stop there. Now, the question is, what do we want to do with these two? Now, you can split them, of course. So if I moved them here, they would get a 1-to-1. These units here are in rough forest, so they're going to get their defense factor doubled, which means I want to put as much attack force here as possible so they can move up because they do have a road that connects to that hex. They can move here. Of course, now they're in an enemy zone of control, so they have to stop. Now down here we have a cavalry unit and a unit that also cannot attack. That was Jackson and not Stonewall. He was in the east. This is in the west. So we got 1. If he moves here, that's 1, but that also locks him there. Now what he could do is move here for 3 and then here for 3. But again, that's going to use up all his movement allowance. So we're kind of in a tricky spot here because the ideal route would be to go up. This would be if I wanted to get him here. I can't. So what we have to do is we have to move here basically and stop. Then this artillery, I'm going to move up 1. And again, it only costs 1 to move here. Then this artillery, I think I will move out in this direction because I do want to drive in this direction as well. Our ultimate goal is Pittsburgh Landing up here. So let's move him 1, 2, 3, 4, and then he has to stop because he's now adjacent to this unit. And again, forest does not provide any defender bonus. Then we're going to send this artillery along as support. 1, 2, 3, 4. He'll stop behind the line because, again, I don't want him to be privy or subject, rather, to any negative effect. Should this attack fail and he has to retreat, that would, of course, nullify him until the night turn. And I don't want that to happen to my artillery. Now we've got a bunch of units down here that we can also bring into the fray, so to speak. So let's take this 5 here. We'll go 1, 2, 3. Okay, he'll support that attack. And we'll go 1, 2. He'll stop here. Let's see, that's not quite enough. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this guy's a 9, so he's a good hammer for us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is, it's hard for me to read it at distance. Statham. Okay. Not Jason. And then down here we have Tribou, or Tribou. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, no. Let's go back here where he started. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He can't get there. I was going to try and get him up into this, but he can't get there. 1, 2, 3. He has to go there and not here to keep himself on the road. 4, 5, 6. And then we've got another artillery here, reserve artillery. They're here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All right, so that completes their movement phase. Now we'll go to the combat phase. Okay, so what we'll start off with is a bombardment. So this is an artillery attack, and it is against an enemy hex that is within range, and that range is 3 hexes. So here we have 2 that are stacked together. Whoops, that's not them. It's these 2 right here for a combined total of 6. So that's the one we're going to use initially. And perhaps that's the only one we'll use, although I doubt it. And I'll show you why here in a moment. So we have 6. And I can fire out to 3. So we've got 1, 2, 3. So he could attack this one here and get a 3-to-1 odds attack by shelling the enemy's artillery, which is probably a pretty good use of the artillery in this case. Or, because here's the thing, you can't attack the same unit twice. So if I use them to bombard this guy, then that would prevent these two from attacking him, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but in this case, it's probably better not to do that. Now here, of course, we also have a 2 that we could use to bombard something, but we may not do that. So 6 to 2 is a 3-to-1 odds, and it works just like regular combat, so it's real simple. You calculate your odds, and then you would take defensive bonuses, but there are none because he's simply in a woods hex, forest hex. So we're going to roll 1 gray die, and we got a 1. And a 1 on the 3-to-1, believe it or not, is defender eliminated. Okay, so we are going to remove this unit because it has been eliminated. Okay, so now they're done. Now here we have 7 attacking 5 if we wish. Well, not if we wish, we have to. So that's going to reduce to a 1-to-1. The defender is in open terrain, so we get nothing, or clear. It's a clear hex. So again, we're going to roll. And we got a 3 this time. And a 3 on the 1-to-1 is defender retreat. So he has to retreat. And we'll do that. And these guys can now advance. One of them can advance forward, so he will. Send him forward right there. Yeah, that's fine. We'll leave the cavalry open to do something else if we wish. Now, we have a 2 here that can bombard somebody. And again, you have to be careful. But let's go 1, 2, 3. He can't attack there, but he can attack this unit that just... Actually, you can't attack the same unit twice. 1, 2, 3. He could attack this one. And I think that means these guys can concentrate on this hex alone. Otherwise, they would have to attack both. So I think that's what we'll do. Even though it's a 2 to 5, which is going to reduce to a 1 to 2 attack. I think that's how it works. Well, maybe it's 1 to 3. So only on a die roll of 1 will anything happen, because the attacking unit cannot take any damage because it's an artillery bombardment from distance. And we rolled a 2, which would normally be pretty good, but in this case is not. So now that allows us to attack 23 to 12, which unfortunately for us does not... I should have moved him here. In hindsight, I should have moved this one here. Then we would have had 24 to 12. It would have been a 2-to-1 attack. Because the defender is going to get doubled. So it is going to be 23 attacking 24. So that reduces to a 1 to 2. So this could be bad. So let's see what we got here. Whoops, that's not what to do. Let's use the tower. We got a 2. A 2 is a good result. Lower results are better. At a 1 to 2, that's a defender retreat. So these guys will need to retreat, and they'll retreat here. And then one of these units can advance or elect not to. I think in this case, we will elect not to, which gives me flexibility to either push Wood here to the church, or to move him this way, or even that way. I've got options. So we'll hold off on that. We have 15 to 5 over here, so that's a 3-to-1. The defender is not in favorable terrain. We got another 2, which at 3-to-1 is a defender retreat. So he can't retreat here because of the enemy unit. It's an Ezok right there. So he can't retreat here either. So I think he gets eliminated because he has no legal retreat route that does not put him into an enemy zone of control. I need to check that real quick. So I was incorrect. They can retreat rather here or here or here because of the fact that we have 2 units here that also exert a zone of control. Although, again, that might not be true either. Let me check again something here. So I would note one thing, okay, and I did check, and it appears that I can retreat this guy, like say here or here. Okay, so even though there's an enemy zone of control here, it's a mutually controlled hex, so it only says enemy controlled hex. So I'm assuming that means he can retreat here because these guys continue to exert a zone of control despite being ineffective. So this is an optional rule, by the way. You don't have to make your units that attack ineffective if you don't want to. It's probably better on a per battle basis what you think might be best, or just how you prefer to play, I guess. I'm playing with that optional rule on, just to kind of add a little bit of, aside from having to retreat, you get a little bit of a negative effect from this. And because you have 6 full turns before you get to the night turn, that's pretty costly for the attacker to have that happen to them. Okay, so now one of these can advance. We will advance. I think I'm going to advance this guy because then I can send him up here, and then we've got a nice pickle. Although he could retreat out of there actually, and probably will. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Either way, this guy right here is going to be in big trouble next turn around. Looking for more attacks. So this one was attacked. I can't attack him again. This one was attacked and then we advanced. So the only other attack we have is right here, aside from bombardments. So we can have the 3, maybe bombard this cavalry unit, or we can try and bombard that one, which would just maybe make him retreat. He's going to retreat anyway because they have to. So perhaps I'll save myself a die roll and just leave it be, although it would probably be beneficial to try to attack that cavalry unit. Anyway, we're going to attack here. At 2-to-1 odds, he does not get any extra bonus. He's only in forest. So we will roll here. It's a 5. That's generally bad for the attacker. So a 5 at 2-to-1 rather. Yep, is attacker retreat. So he will retreat. We'll put him here. He becomes ineffective now. Okay, so the Union got a good result on that one. That's why you might want to not attack in some cases. So now let's have this guy attack him. It's a 3-to-1 attack. There's really no downside. And he also rolled a 5, and a 5 at 3-to-1 is actually defender retreat. So he's going to retreat this way. All right, so that ends the Confederate turn. Now we'll flip over and do the Union turn. Now here in turn 2, their movement is, as I mentioned before, restricted. So they have to retreat. They cannot move if they're in an enemy zone of control, of course, or enemy-controlled hex, as they call it in this game. So these guys are going to retreat because they are allowed to move. They just cannot make any attacks. So they will retreat here. Or maybe they'll go here for the woods. Then this guy will move up 1. He'll move up 1. He'll move up 1. Move up 1. He'll go this way. He'll go here. 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 These 2 will move up here. They'll go there. Here. 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 And maybe we'll go here. And I think that's it. They cannot attack. Oh, actually, they can attack. I shouldn't say that. So we have 1-to-1 here, and they do have to attack. That is the rule. So we have a blue die for the Union. Move our Confederate die here. So 1-to-1 odds. He's in open or clear terrain. We rolled a 6. A 6 at 1-to-1 is attack or retreat. So again, he's going to get flipped over and go there. Now this guy's got really poor odds to attack at. He's got a 5 attacking a 14. That is going to be a 1-to-3. So this is probably going to be bad unless he rolls a 1, and he rolled a 3, and a 3 is attack or retreat. So he also has to retreat. And I'm going to actually retreat him into the same hex with this guy, because now they have a stronger defense rating for the next turn. And that's it. That's turn 2. Turn 2 is in the books. Let's go to turn 3. And we just pick right up and continue. So the game flows pretty quickly, as you can see. And we'll go to turn 3. And now the movement restriction on the Union is over, and they can move and attack normally. So the shock of that initial unexpected attack, the Union was totally caught flat-footed at Shiloh. Confederates made great progress initially, and then as the day wore on, this would be April 6th, they started to stiffen up. There was a lot of confusion at first, but then they started to stiffen up, and the next day, Buell's forces arrived, and they really pushed them. So actually, towards the end of the 6th, they started to arrive. So by the 7th, they were, you can see this big stack of reinforcements that probably represents Buell's Army of the Ohio. This, of course, would be Grant's Army of the Tennessee. And the Confederate Army was the Army of Tennessee, which was under Albert Sidney Johnston, who was killed on April 6th. And command passed to P.T. Beauregard. But that's all history. So if you're interested, I laid it out there for you. If not, you can ignore, right? All right, let's move on. Okay, so we can start moving again. Now we know these two guys are locked in now to attack him. They can't really do much else. Let's move our artillery up, and this way we'll have an attack where the artillery will be involved directly in it. So they can move there. These guys can move, but again, they cannot attack until after night. So if we go here, that's 1, 2. Now we're going to cross this ford hex side, which costs 1 extra, and a forest costs 3 to move into. So that would be a total of 4. So they do have barely enough to do that, and they're going to be here now. And the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to kind of try to send them over, and then they'll cross the bridge back to this side, and maybe we'll have some power on the Union's right flank here, because we're going to assume that this guy will lose and get pushed back, or possibly even eliminated. I have not really been tracking the victory points. The main victory point condition is here, Pittsburgh Landing, but you also get victory points for eliminating enemy units. All right, so let's move 9. Now we have 6 and 6, so this is 12, 14 to 5. So that's, again, not quite enough to get really good odds. But if we move him up here, we now have 23 to 5, which of course will reduce to 4 to 1, which is pretty solid. So we'll leave that there. Now we'll take our artillery that's here. And we have a 1, 2, 3. We can hit them again. So maybe we'll do that. Or we can hit this guy at 1 to 2, which wouldn't be great. Or I can move them up and have them participate in an attack with somebody. So the problem here, again, is the road situation. So this 9 is sitting on a road, but he'd have to go down here. 1, 2, 3. I guess that actually would work. 4. So let's do that. He's going to go 1. He can pass through here. 2, 3, 4. So he's up here now, and it's a 9 to 6. Now, if I take our artillery, who's not on a road, so this is going to be a complicating factor, and this is why you should use tweezers. Sorry. If we move in here, that's going to cost us 6, or here is 6. Here would be 3. So he could go 3, 4, 5, 6, which won't get him where I want him to be. So I'm actually going to leave him here and have him attack this unit. which will remove the requirement for him to attack him, because you can only attack him once, and he'll attack this unit. Actually, he'd have to attack both of these two. So in order to make that happen, of course, we need to give him a little bit of support. So we're going to move one of these up here to make it a 16. And yeah, this is going to be dicey for us. I shouldn't have done this probably. 1, 2, and then he can move here actually. So that will make it a 7 here. So we could split the attack and have the 7 attack the 6, and then have these two 16 attack this guy, who's going to be doubled to make it a 16 to 12 as a 1-to-1, rather than having it be bad odds. And maybe I'll even move, well, no, I don't want to do that actually. We'll go here and then here, because he's going, well, actually we've got 6, 12, 18, no great thing there, but if I move him up in here to make this an 8, that actually doesn't help. So we won't do that. But what I will do is have this guy attack this hex as kind of a diversionary bombardment, because then it's 1 to 12. So there's no, I mean, it's a 1 to 5, which is the worst odds you can get. And it's basically impossible to do anything with, but it removes the requirement that this guy attack that hex. So he can attack this one, then these two can attack that one, and we're all good. I could also attack, I was going to use this one to attack that. That's right. Okay. So you see how you have to kind of try and figure out ways to make things work, perhaps a little bit better. We might want to leave this one alone because it's a 10. And I could have used my Union artillery, now that I think about it, to fire, but I didn't. So that's a bad on me. I'm trying to move it along and keep this relatively short while still showing some of the game. We may stop here at the end of turn 3 and be done. That's at least my initial plan at the current moment. So we're going to go 1, and then I'm going to go here. Okay, and you might say, well, why did you do that? Well, I did that so that I can take this guy and go 1, 2, and then in here again is only going to cost 1. So now we have 7 there. Then we have artillery here on top of this guy, and we're going to move him 1, 2, maybe 3. Stop there. Now I want to move, this guy can't really attack, but he can move, we'll move him here. He can't move here or here because then he'd be in a zone of control and he cannot attack. 1, 2. That gives him the ability to attack either of these guys. Then we have a 9 and a 6 here. So this is a 15. So if we can do what I'd like to do, which is go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That works, right? We put them here. Now, if we attack the 8 with this one, then we can maximize our chances of damaging that one. Now this guy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we have a 9 to 3 there, which is good odds. And then we have 2 artillery units here. They can go 1, 2. They'll stop here, I think. And then this guy, let's move him 1, 2, and stop him here, 3. Okay, that's the end of movement. Now let's do combat. So we've got up here, if we use everybody, we've got 6, 8, 14, 23 to 5. So that is a 4-to-1 attack. He does not get any defensive benefit. Whoops, I did that again. And we rolled a 1, which is a great result. At 4-to-1, a 1 is defender eliminated. So they have killed this guy. And now we can, of course, move up. So we will move this guy in here. And that's that attack. Now we'll have this one attack here. That's, of course, a 1-to-2 attack because of the adjustment, rounding down. And he rolled a 1, which is a great result because even at a 1-to-2, that is a defender retreat. So he has to retreat. He will retreat there. Now we can attack this one at 16 to 6. Well, actually, We'll attack here first. We'll do a 1-to-1. Again, no defensive bonus. And we roll the 1 again. And that is another defender retreat. So this one will retreat up here. Okay, he can move up, so he will. Actually, no, he won't. He's going to stay right here. And that's wrong. Let me move this back. And I'll tell you why that's wrong. What I wanted to do is have this guy attack that one at terrible odds, but he still rolled a... I'll keep the die roll. This is like pseudo cheating, and I probably shouldn't do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. And we'll remove him up here, and then that allows this guy to attack this one at basically... You know what? No. You know what? No. We'll keep the original result. This one will attack there at terrible odds. We'll roll again. And we rolled a 5, which would normally be attacker eliminated, but they can't attack back because they're not adjacent. So that satisfies the requirement of attacking that one. Now, by leaving him here, if I push him up here, then the Union's got a ready-made massive attack on this hex. So I'm not going to do that. We will leave him where he is. We'll take this 6 here, and we will attack. Let's attack. Which one do we wish to attack? We will attack this Union artillery up here. So 6-4 is a 1-to-1. We rolled a 6, which is a bad result, but it doesn't matter. So that one is fine. We're done there. Now we have a 2 here. We'll attack that cavalry right there. Roll it again. Then we got another 6, which again is a terrible result, no effect. Now here we have a 2 and a 5, which is a 7. They're going to attack this unit to satisfy that requirement. 1-to-1. And we rolled a 4. And a 4 at 1-to-1 is an attacker retreat. So both of these guys now have to retreat, and they both are ineffective for the rest of this day. And there are 3 more turns. So now you can see that the Union is going to have, I mean, they've taken a couple of hits themselves, but they're going to have the chance to punch back a little bit in the upcoming turns. And now up here, we've got a situation here where we have an 8 on this side and a 6 over here. And we have 15. So that wouldn't get us to 2-to-1, but it would get us to 2-to-1 here. So we want to attack this one, but we still would be required to attack this, and that would be 15-14. So we could do a 1-to-1 attack and satisfy both. Or I can have this artillery attack the 8, which is what I'm going to do. So that would be a 1-to-3 attack. And we rolled a 1, and guess what that means? He has to retreat. So that worked out. Now we got a 15-6, which is a 2-to-1. And that is a 6, and that is a bad result. So a 2-to-1, a 6 is an attacker retreat. So these guys have to move back and are ineffective. Right? Okay, so the Confederates are going to be on the defensive a little bit. They've got a lot of combat ineffective forces now as we move through the middle of the day. We have 1 attack left. It's right here. Although I could, 1, 2, I can't reach him. Can't reach him, or I could attack that cavalry up there, but I can't reach him, so we won't. It's 3-to-1. Right there, he's in a clear hex. And we rolled a 1, so he's going to have to retreat, I think. No, he's eliminated. Eliminated. And then he can move up, which... actually, he's not going to move up. We don't have any real advantage aside from being able to get up here, because we then have to attack. We'd be stuck on the creek there. And the creek hex side can only be crossed at bridges or fords. There is no bridge or ford up there, so we are not going to go up that way. Nope. We will stay here, and then we can move up that way. Even though there's no road, we can move through the forest at a slower pace. You can only go 2 hexes, basically. So that ends the Confederate phase here in turn 3. We go to the Union. Let's see. I think They can move anywhere they want now, so that's nice. That's good to know. And we have a 5 and a 6 here, and then they have a 7 and a 9 there. So that's not great. But we do have to make an attack here. So perhaps we bombard them. We do have an artillery piece up here that we can use to bombard them. And that would allow us to do some other things. Because here in this hex, we have a 6 and a 6, and that's a 7. So if I move this 8 here, that gives us a 20 to 7. And then if I move this 6 in here, and then I move these two together, that's a 9 now. And let's see. I don't know that I really want to put myself out on a limb too much. Let's move this guy up here. So that costs 3. And then we'll move him here, which also costs 3. And then this is a, 15. Let's not do that. We'll leave him there. In fact, we were up here, I believe. Right? Yeah. So let's just move him here and make a 14. And then we'll use the cavalry as a stick, maybe to just kind of hold this area. I mean, they can push. They can't really get, well, he could. 1, 2, yeah, he's going to get stuck here if he moves up there. So I think that's it. What I want to do is kind of hold. I'm thinking for the Union strategy is to kind of try and just survive until Buell gets here, which is what Grant did. And, once Buell arrives, then that will help a great deal. So, because we have some gunboats coming in from up here along the river, that will provide us some additional artillery support. Not a ton, but enough to maybe help us swing some odds. So that's always worthwhile. And so now let's move on to our combat phase, as I mentioned here. So we have a 9 here, and they have a 16. So we can attack them 1 to 2, which would remove the necessity for him to attack them, which is kind of what I was trying to do. I could also have just moved. Well, I still couldn't get great odds. Actually, I could have. Let me rethink this. I mean, you're not supposed to do stuff like this. If I was playing a human opponent, they'd be like, "Oh, you can't do that. You already said you were moving to combat." But let's say we move the other 6 here and 5 here. Now we've got 17 and they have 16. So it's a 1 to 1. So let's do that. Let's see if we can do something bold here and just not roll. Actually, there's no way to eliminate anybody. So someone's retreating. A 1 to 3 is a defender retreat. A 4 to 6 is an attacker retreat. It's a 1. They have to retreat. So that pushes them back. So that's good. And we are not going to advance. We're going to hold here because now this guy's put himself out in clear terrain. They're on a ridge, so they have some nice defensive terrain there. Or rough, rather, I guess you might call it. Now we can do the bombardment if I want to. 1, 2, 3. We have a 9 to 1 there, which would be 6 to 1. So let's do that because I have a 50% chance of eliminating that artillery unit. So let's do it. And it's a 5, and that's too high, but they do have to retreat. So we'll retreat them back here. And now this guy here is going to get attacked by 12. And 14 is 26. 26 to 7 reduces to a 3 to 1. Pretty good odds. We can eliminate on a 1, retreat on a 2 to 5, and then exchange on 6. We get a 4, so that's a retreat. So he has to retreat as well. He's now in good defensive position. And we will not advance again because I don't want to set myself up in a death triangle over here. And that's it. We don't have any other Union attacks. So that would be the end of turn number 3. And we would move to turn 4. And I am going to stop at this point. I like to keep these as short as I can. because I know people just don't watch after a certain point. But I hopefully gave you an idea of how the game works between part 1 and part 2. I feel like I probably made less mistakes here in part 2 than I did in part 1. I made a few in part 1, I know. So again, I hope this was useful and or enjoyable. Both would be great, but if you got something out of it, that would be good as well. And like I said, yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, found it useful. But that's going to do it for now. If you have any comments, questions, etc., please feel free to post them. I'll do my best to reply. If you could give the video a like or a share, that would be awesome. If you're not a subscriber and would consider subscribing, that would be awesome too. But even if not, I hope you'll come back at some point and watch another video. But that is, as I said, it for this one. I am Joe. This is Hexed Encountered. And until next time, as always, happy gaming.